You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts, Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management, along with Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian and Andrew the Rock Lobster Giovinazzi from OptionPit.com. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody, that music means it is Monday. It is noon Central. It is 1 p.m. Eastern. Are you ready to rock out with another full week on the Options Insider Radio Network? Well, I hope so, because there's a lot of content coming at you. Pretty much 3 shows a day, every day these days. The options gods hate my voice, but they love you folks out there. No shortage of content, including 3 new shows that we've launched just in the last, I'd say, 6 to 8 months. One in the last few weeks. If you want to get it all, make sure wherever you're listening to this, you are subscribed to the full network. And of course, if you're ready to take the plunge, you're ready to go above and beyond, you want, dare I say it, some exclusive goodies in your life. You also maybe want to join some live streams to heckle the uncleist of Mike's, put him in his place every now and then. We all know he needs it. And then, of course, to check out some exclusive shows and indeed to win some exclusive prizes. The only place to go for all of that fun, the optionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go to learn more. As we learn who's joining us on this Monday edition of the show, the Rock Lobster on assignment. He is down hanging out with Mama Lobster on a bit of a well-earned vacation, probably listening to the show right now, and I'm sure Mama Lobster is putting together some of her notes for me. She is not my biggest fan when I criticize her dear puddin' on the show or give him a hard time in any way, shape, or form. Then you know I'm going to hear from Mama Lobster. So I'm sure I'll hear from Mama Lobster when the Rock Lobster returns with his Mama Lobster report. In the meantime, though, we are joined by the uncleist of Mikes, Mr. Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management. Uncle Mike, it is the moment you have been waiting for. You have been accusing me of skullduggery and of rigging the numbers here. Even some of your minions have been coming at me with the Uncle Mike heads out there saying I'm stacking the deck against you. Well, here you go, sir. You have now no complaint. The floor is entirely yours. Only you can sink or swim. Are you excited, sir? This is what you've been waiting for.
We'll see. But with the skullduggery that's been going on, I still have to be careful somehow.
All right, we shall see as we commence the 80s Trivia Challenge. Here we go. All right, everybody, let's get down to business. Remember, these are not questions about the 80s. I mean, they might be, but these are questions now written and taken from a vintage Trivial Pursuit set from the 80s. You know it, you love it, the old blue box with the little pie with the wedges. We went and tracked one down just because these guys wanted it. That's how nice that we are here, listeners. No effort and no expense shall be spared for the shows. All right, Uncle Mike, I have a feeling I know which color you're going for, but maybe you're going to throw me a curveball. What are you feeling today?
Sports and leisure, baby.
All right, sports and leisure. I did have a chance to look at this card as I pulled it. You just saw me pull it a few minutes ago, Uncle Mike. I will be surprised if you get this one, but hey, you're always full of surprises out here. All right. Prepare yourself, Uncle Mike. I'll let you just do a verbal buzz because it's just you. All right. What was Gertrude Ederle the first woman to do?
Compete in a professional tennis match.
Not a bad guess. For a second, when you said professional, I thought you were going to say professional wrestling match, but I just know with the way your brain works. But that is not the case. She was actually the first woman to swim the English Channel.
Oh,
So I think we can tell by her name, probably not American. And yeah, so there you go. A British superstar, I suppose, if ever there was one. But you know what, Uncle Mike? I'm not a cold-hearted bastard. I will let you have a chance for redemption. For half a point, you can pick any other color on the card. We'll take another swing. What's your other colors?
I don't even know what I'll go with geography.
Geography is blue. All right. Here we go. What royal residence has 600 rooms? Hint, royal residence.
Buckingham Palace.
There you go. All right. That's for all you Uncle Mikers out there who think I don't lend him a helping hand from time to time. The Rock Lobster will hear this now. I'm sure Mama Lobster is writing umbrage notes as we speak, which I guess that means I'm a good host, listeners. I play it right down the middle because everybody's angry, which is the right way to go. All right. Half a point for Uncle Mike for Buckingham Palace. I don't know how many other royal residences do you even know, Uncle Mike? I'm sure the King and Queen of Sweden have a beautiful royal residence. I have no idea what it's called. All right, half a point for Uncle Mike for Buckingham Palace. Did you know that, listeners? Did my little hint help you? As we keep on rolling into a little bit of the old trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the Trading Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Trading Block, the portion of the show where we break down what the heck is trading. And you know what? I could tell I kept Uncle Mike busy for a few minutes here with his little trivia contest because in that moment, the market turned from mixed to red. So he was unable to direct his cabal to keep buying, his minions to keep buying. So they managed to let the Dow turn slightly red. We're talking just a modicum of red on the screen today, listeners. Dow off a whopping 0.03% to start the show, so not a big downturn day. S&P 500 off about 0.1%. NASDAQ off about 0.15%. So we're not talking huge moves here. They have been kind of vacillating throughout the morning between the red and the green. They managed to tick a little green, and then now mostly the gravitational pull sucking us down to the red. But then again, ever so slightly, we could see 100 handle swing in the SPX any minute based off these markets these days, listeners. And the old VIX at about 15.25 as we kicked off the show. Puts us down about half a point from where we were this time last week. VVIX, as our buddy Ewan Sinclair pointed out on VolViews on Friday. If you missed it, definitely check out VolViews. Yet another reason you should be listening to the full network. Good discussion on VolViews on Friday. And he did point out, we've been saying for a while, we joke a lot about these cheapie puts out there in VIX, but they're not as cheap as you might think. Part of that, of course, is that we have been selling off, so downside's getting a little bit juicier. But part of that is also, as Ewan pointed out, VVIX remains kind of elevated, threatening a par still, 98 right now, up another 2 points. So when VVIX is around 100, you're still not going to get maybe some of those options for as cheap as you might expect or might hope out there. So just something to bear in mind as you're out there looking for deals in the put wing in the VIX, or maybe to the upside, to the call wing if you are so inclined. But Uncle Mike, as our resident half-point winner, first off, how good does it feel to be back in the winners column, sir? And then B, what's catching your eye out there in today's market?
Hey, I'm still the champ, so the road to the belt still has to go through me. There's a whole lot of trivia left. We got 4 more months this year, so I'm still the champ.
Some of our latecomers to the chat are stunned that you got an answer right, and they want to know if they missed the trivia question. They want to know if the answer was wrist wrestling. Because we've had that about 15. I can't believe I randomly pulled a card from the middle of the pack, and it was literally the wrist wrestling card again. That card just wants to be featured on the show every week. The trivia gods demanded, Uncle Mike.
Yeah, and that's where the skullduggery begins, but I digress. With that, I mean, there are photographs that we have of Andrew and Mark having a meeting at Siri, which is for those of you people who aren't from the Chicago area, that's the bar and grill restaurant in the Board of Trade where a lot of shady deals take place between traders and good deals and honest deals too. I've had some deals there myself, but there's photographs of Andrew slipping a fat envelope under the table to Mark, and they're both looking around trying to make sure no one's watching. But
Uncle Mike was there with his camera. That's how we know this story is a bold-faced lie, because it requires the rock lobster to leave Maine. And we know that hardly ever happens, except for this week.
And he did. Yep, he did. It happened. There's skullduggery going on. But anyway, with regard to the markets, I think right now with what's happening, we have a relatively flat day, or we have a very flat day. And I think the markets are waiting to see what the news is going to be from the Trump-Zelensky meeting. And so, like Mark was saying earlier, we could have a 100-point move in the S&P at any minute right now based upon any information that comes out of it. This is going to be kind of like a Fed meeting type of day. We just don't know when the news is going to be released. So we'll see what happens. We'll see. Maybe it could be a resounding meh, as Mark likes to say. That could happen. But I think ultimately what's happening right now is that market's kind of on hold, waiting to see what is going to happen. There's not any big stock movers that are lighting up my tape by any means. And through our triple income portfolio, we have, I think, the biggest mover we have. Qualcomm's up 1%. Other than that, everything in our triple income portfolio has moved less than 1%. And yeah, I think everyone's just kind of sitting on their hands, waiting to see what happens with this, and hoping they're on the right side of this market. Even Bitcoin is only moving less than roughly 0.5% today. So crazy times, but I think it's to be expected with the weight of what this meeting could hold.
Well, since it's just you on the show today, and you mentioned your beloved Strategic Night, any insights you want to regale us with about the Strategic Night portfolio? Maybe an intriguing holding or two in said portfolio that is catching your eye right now, or maybe forcing you to write a covered call or buy a put on?
Well, we are 98% IBIT right now. So, no, just kidding.
I knew it. He said it. Listeners, cut it, print it, put that clip out on social media. He has finally confirmed what we all knew, all IBIT all the time, with a little bit of Shiba Inu sprinkled on top. That's the other, whatever, 5%.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of where we're at right now, the stock that we're really looking at, that's really been good to us for a while, Taiwan Semiconductor, that's been one of our top stocks. It's We're looking to sell some covered calls on it later in the day. I'll have all of our covered calls for the month of September all in place. So just taking a break from it to do the option block, of course. So that's a holding that has been pretty good to us. Apple was moving its way down the ranks, but we've never got rid of it. But it's kind of moving its way back up the ranks based on recent performance. I guess if you go to the White House, or if you go to Washington, stocks go up. So we just need to relocate your headquarters to Washington. Another holding that we've been doing call spreads on, has been Microsoft. And for the most part, thankfully, we have been doing call spreads instead of covered calls, in that at times when you do covered calls, it's going to happen rather frequently, stock's going to go above your short strike price, and then you get called away. And so that can be a good thing. That can be a bad thing, but it's just kind of a mental drain on people sometimes when they say, oh, if I had just held the underlying, I'd have a 26% profit right now, or whatever it's going to be. But you have to have the mentality, you're doing a covered call and you got exactly what you wanted. You hit your maximum profit. However, there are times to where Microsoft has actually become such a high-priced stock that there's some portfolios we can't have our 100-share ratio in it, because of the fact that it's so ridiculously high priced. So what we've been doing with Microsoft is we've been creating short delta equivalents of a covered call. Now, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of portfolios that have more than 100 shares of Microsoft in it, but in our standard portfolio, which is, we always base it off of that, which is $200,000 at 10 stocks a piece, doing the math on it, you really don't want to have a 25% holding in just Microsoft. So our base holding for Microsoft in a $200,000 portfolio, and I'm still calculating this throughout the day today, it's going to be roughly 40 shares. And so what we do with that is we'll sell a call spread to create the premium, to create the income that we're looking to do. And if Microsoft stays the same or goes down, it acts similar as to what a covered call would be on 40 shares, approximately. Could be more, could be less, of course. But what Microsoft has been doing recently has just been going up, 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 and up. And that's something to where when it goes way past our call spreads at the portfolio level, there is a whole lot of grinning going on, mostly by me, because of the fact that it just goes up so rapidly. Microsoft was in the mid threes, got up to the mid fives. It was in the mid threes 4 months ago. And it became kind of instead of just saying, oh, shucks, we got called away on it, it just blew through our call spread so quickly that it just became a stock holding because it was just going up so gosh darn fast. So we're consistently losing $3 a month on Microsoft or whatever it is for the call spread that we're selling. But if you're gaining $25 a month in the stock itself, it doesn't seem to hurt so bad. So that's something that we've been doing with Microsoft. Of course, there's some other stocks that most of the stocks that we use in our triple income portfolio, we just sell covered calls on. But there are situations like Microsoft to where we will do a call spread. And then there's other situations to where we're just bullish on the stock to where we might do a call spread as well. And I think that's really been one of the differences of our covered call writing routines that has really benefited us tremendously throughout the years in our triple income portfolio. We're actually going on 9 years right now that we've been doing this specific portfolio. And the call spread has been a big difference maker. Another difference maker I've talked about on the show before has been because of the fact that we have Row, and I've talked about this on the strategy block before, because Row exists again, it's more beneficial for us to sell a deep in the money covered call as opposed to selling a put as the opening move, if you will. Now, of course, what you could do is if you have release within your portfolio, you can just sell a put and then with some of the cash you can put into a risk-free government bond if you'd like, or risk-free government treasury. But you're going to get pretty much the same effect by just selling a deep in the money covered call because we're looking to be cash secured. When I've talked with our brokers about getting release on short puts and things like that, they all recommended just sell a deep in the money covered call. You'll get the same thing. And now that commissions are pretty much non-existent on stocks, or they are non-existent where we trade, there's really no reason for us to be selling short puts at this point in time. We just sell deep in the money covered calls as our opening move. And synthetically speaking, it's the same. And because of the beautiful, underappreciated Greek called Rho, it works for us. So that's kind of what's going on these days in the triple income portfolio.
There you go. A little update. I know our folks wanted that out there. A little update on all things triple income. It is now time for an update on all things lighting up our tapes out here today, listeners. Let's see. Is it a hot day? Is it a spicy day? A banger day in the market? You know, if you just looked at VIX, if you just live and die in all things VIX, then you'd be forgiven for thinking, man, today is a pretty hot day. VIX actually decently active out of the gate, 651 on the tape in VIX land. That's within spitting distance of its ADV, which is at 719. So VIX kind of oddly hot out of the gate out there today. Now, you know, a couple of things could be driving that. Sometimes it's red on the screen. Sometimes it's some whipsaw action. Quite often, if it's neither of those two, it's some big spreads or something else going on out there in VIX land today, listeners. And you know what? We don't really have that massive spread going up out there today, but we have, I guess you can just call it dense volume. Seems like a lot of strikes are active. Some of that could be we're just heading into expiration on Wednesday. Maybe folks getting the heck out of Dodge. We usually see this volume surge heading into expiration on Tuesday, but maybe today folks are taking advantage to get the heck out of Dodge or maybe put something on going into expiration. We all know folks are big fans of putting options on that live and die in the same day. So maybe some of that going on in VIX land, including looks like we have kind of a tie for first place today out there in VIX land. About 30,000 each of the AUG 17 puts going up as well. Looks like an average price for those of around $1.57. So pretty juicy, obviously. Against the 15 half puts for number 2 going up again 30,000 times. And they are actually the subject of a flash poll we have going on right now. Looks like the majority of them going up for about 35 cents. We said, heading into expiration on Wednesday, are you a buyer or seller of the 15 half puts for 35 cents? We all know it looks decent right now, but then again, one tweet, one little development out of DC or the Fed or the market in general could erase all of that 35 cents in a heartbeat. So you are kind of playing a crapshoot if you are loading up on those right now. So we thought we'd ask you that. That just went live as Uncle Mike was talking out there on Twitter. If you're following us at Options, you'll see all this stuff going on during the show. Another fun reason to follow us listeners outside of just the links to all the content, which is also fun as well, and some occasional musings on market-related topics. You also get fun polls like this. And right now, about 2/3 exactly of our audience wants to sell those bad boys, and about 1/3 want to buy them. I can't blame you if you want to sell them. I mean, in the past, the risk has not really been to the downside in VIX, but this could be the settlement where all that blows up and we see, a settlement print in the 14 handle, or someone was, I think the meatball was toying with going with a 13 handle on vol views this week. So that'd be wild if we saw a 13 handle print in VIX. As someone who's kind of short vol right now, I wouldn't be angry at it, but also as someone who lived through the 2017 death of vol under Trump the first time, I don't know if anyone really wants a repeat of that. I think a VIX at 9 isn't really good for anybody. So you might say, it's cheap, I could buy all my puts. Maybe that also means the market is flat and dead and vol is flat and dead. We all know a lot of our listeners like to sell a put or two out there as well. So not really a lot of juice for that. So intriguing stuff. We shall see where we go, but that's what we got in VIX land. There's no massive 100, 200,000 lot spread that's really driving that paper. It just seems to be a lot of dense action, which is kind of interesting on an otherwise kind of quiet Monday. SPY, a little bit shy of 4 million contracts right now, about 3.85 million contracts. So SPY actually looking light. The ADV is a little bit shy of 8 million. Doesn't seem like we're going to hit that today if we stay on this pace. Maybe close. We'll see. If you've been listening to the Hot Options Report, you'll know you get your update at the end of the day, whether we make that magic number or not. The S, 1.85 million, so kind of a little bit north of where we used to expect it, 1.75 million. These days, that expectation has gotten higher, so it's a little bit underperforming as well on the SPX side. That said, it's pretty close to halfway to its ADV of about 3.8 million. Small caps, definitely underperforming compared to where they've been in the past. I mean, it was a spicy week for small caps last week. IWM putting up 2.25, 2.5 million contracts some days, which is fully a million contracts above its ADV. So by that math, and the ADV skyrocketed up to about 1.5 million contracts last week. So by that math, we'd expect it to be at least close to that number by now. And instead, it's a little bit north of 500,000 contracts, 521. So a rare, quiet day in small caps as well. And bringing up the rear, it's our old pal, the Qs, 2.25 million contracts on the tape. The ADV exactly 4 million in the Qs. So the Qs hanging out pretty much exactly where we expect them this time of the show. Will they get to 4 million? It passes prologue. The answer is yes. Let's keep on rolling now out to the single names. And last week on our Hot Options Report, listeners, we saw some just incredibly spicy days on the single name options front. I mean, you're talking pretty much 1 million contracts or close to it to break into the top 10 at the end of the day. So that is a hefty day. We are not looking like that today, but who knows? The session is still young. Things could turn. Right now, number 10 cost you 342. That gets us to our new friend, the Wolf. And you might be saying, wait a minute, Wolf Speed, you've been talking about that forever and making fun of that name. And that is true, but that's WOLF. This is the more Swedish / Germanic spelling of Wolf, WULF, and that's the ticker for Terra Wolf Inc. How many wolves can we have in our trading lives? Well, clearly the answer is at least 2 right now, because the other wolf howling all its way to 0.20 to the upside today, trading right around 1016, up another 13.25%. So it's been a good little run here for the other wolf. Why is this thing running so much? Google took a stake in them last week, and that's enough to send this stock just skyrocketing. Over the last 5 days, it's up 86%. So a wild time out there in the Wolf. And that's our number 10 out there today. I will check just because I can hear some of you asking out, even though I think we all know what the answer is. What is the hot option in the Wolf today? It's probably going to be Friday expiration at the money or slightly out of the money calls. That's my guess. And let's see. It is Friday expiration, and it's the 10 calls, which are slightly in the money calls. So it's like I've done this before or something. 23,400 of those bad boys going up. It's like average price of 70 cents. So if we just hang out here for the rest of the week, not going to look good for a lot of those buyers. If you're selling them and you don't mind gritting your teeth because you got guts to sell anything with rallying this hard right now. But that said, intriguing stuff. Look for the Wolf. Can it make it onto the hot options report later today? I guess we'll find out. Going on to number 9, a more established name in the top 10. This is Meta. 371 on the tape for them. A Meta actually having the temerity to sell off today. Nearly 20 handles. About $19 and change, off about 2.5%. Trading 766 in the third. I didn't know Meta could go down. So just wild times out there in Meta after just running and running. It doesn't seem like that long ago that Meta was right around $100, and we were all debating the future of Meta and whether this thing, they could right the ship. And sure enough, slashing a bunch of jobs and then tripling down on AI seems to be the way the street at least likes it here. Number 9 for Meta, 371. Number 8, it's AMD. Also, another name that hasn't sold off in a while, giving some back to the market gods today. 175 and 2/3, off about $1.85, or about exactly 1%. You know what? Don't weep too hard for them, though. They're still up about $2.50 or 1.5%. Just off the past 5 sessions out there. And again, good for the number 8 spot. Good old AMD. Number 7, keeping it in the A tech names. Another name that hasn't sold off in a little bit. Ever since Mr. Cook went to Washington, it's Apple. Trading 231, off about 60 cents, or about 0.25%. But man, this thing has had quite the run. It's up almost 10% over the past month. And if you go from its nadir right around the par strike, it's up obviously much more than that. Again, these trips to Washington, it's just wild. Number 7, 416. Now we're talking about the government taking equity stakes in companies out there. So just wild stuff, how close the administration is becoming to some of these big firms out there. Either way, number 7, the fruit company, 416 on the tape. Number 6, this has been a wild name as well. Just whisper that Warren Buffett has a piece of you, or release it in a filing. That's good for a nice little run. It's UnitedHealth, 313.90, up about 10 1/4. Actually, it's ticking. 314 1/4, up about 10 1/4 right now, or 3 1/3%. Over the last 5 days, it's up 60 handles, or 23 1/3%. Again, just that magic letters of BUFFET out there for good old Mr. Buffett. Either way, number 6, UnitedHealth, 427 on the tape. Number 5, another name that we're not used to seeing some red on in a little while. It's Palantir. So the market gods, they're collecting their toll today. 172 1/3, off about 485, or 2 3/4%. Good for number 5. It's Palantir, 516 on the tape. Also goes to show you that number 5 already, and we're just barely north of 500,000 contracts out there. For Palantir, number 5. Number 4, this one's kind of surprising. And again, shows you maybe we've got a little bit of a topsy-turvy day here in our top 10. Can it hold for the hot options report? I guess we'll find out. Some of our newcomers breaking their way into the top of the charts, including number 3. It's our old pal Open. Man, Open. We were just talking about it just a few sessions ago. It seemed like it had stalled out around 2.5 listeners. And looks like right now we've got Open hanging out 343, up 1/4. So up to nearly 3.5% out there today, listeners. So wild stuff out there in good old Open. So folks who are overwriting 2.5, or maybe if you got something off for 3, we're blowing through all those strikes. What's going on with Open? It got up to, looks like 395 today. Oh, they had a leadership change over there. So there we go. Maybe that will do it out there. At the end of the day, there are more buyers than sellers out there, which is interesting stuff. Again, number 3, Open, just climbing the charts. I guess we can do it. I hear some of you. You want it. You demand it. What's the hot option out there in open right now? Again, it's probably looking where we are right now. It's probably going to be 3.5. Maybe it's the 4s if folks are getting wild. Oh, you know what? It is the 4s. Folks are feeling their oats. They're feeling froggy in open right now. It's the AUG 4s going out this week. 103,000 of those bad boys going up for an average price of 34 cents. All right, you know what? I hate to do this to you, producer, but that sounds like another fun flash poll out there. AUG 4s in open. For what are we looking at? 34 cents. Let's just say 35 cents. Buyer or sellers expiring this Friday. You want to buy those bad boys? You want to sell them, listeners? Or just not touching it? That could be a choice as well. And a very rational choice given this madness out here. Either way, number 3, it's open. That means what could be number 2? It's not Tesla, kick to number 4. It's not open. All the way down at number 3. What could possibly be holding down the number 2 spot? Well, another name that made a little bit of pilgrimage to Washington, hat in hand, this time not for permission to sell chips or any of the other things that these are, and the largesse of the administration. This time it was actually to sell a piece to the administration, which is kind of wild and maybe unprecedented. It's my old stomping grounds of Intel. They rallied hard off this news, got up to nearly $25. They were $20 almost exactly before they made this move. So rallying $5, listeners out there. So fully 25% before, looks like the market gods intervening right now, taking them back down about $0.75. Still trading, 23.80 right now. So still trading nearly $4 above where they were not that long ago out there. So just wild stuff. These pilgrimages to Washington having such demonstrable impacts on the stock, whether you like the administration, whether you hate it, whether you like these trips or not. I think a lot of people could argue this is maybe a little bit unseemly, this weird relationship. You go make the pilgrimage hat in hand and then your stock pops. I get why the firms are doing it. There's a demonstrable impact on their stock. If you're Nvidia and AMD, man, you've been printing money off the permission to sell chips to China again. It's let's just say maybe a little bit too cozy on the surface. And a lot of people may be getting a little bit too uncomfortable with the direct one-to-one correlation. People were buying Intel calls, and the week before they went to Washington, just on the announcement of that news that they were going to Washington. So it's a weird scenario out there. I guess we can all debate whether it's appropriate or not, but either way, it's clearly having an impact on stocks. We could argue if it should or not, but nonetheless, it is. Number 2, Intel, 1.02 million contracts on the tape. And Intel, let's look really quickly. Let's just see if the bloom is off the rose in Intel. Are folks still buying upside or are they buying some puts? Let's see. Yeah, it's the 25, still lighting it up. Average price of 45 cents, 53,000 times. That's all open in paper. So looks like it passes Prolog. Folks are probably buying those. So looks like folks are still feeling their oats out here in good old INTC. Wild stuff. That means number 1, you know what it is. It's Nvidia. They already made their pilgrimage a while ago. They're good. 181 1/3, up about $1 or about 0.5%. Good for 1.35 million contracts on the tape. Other stuff right now on the earnings front, we got a lot of big box retailers popping off this week. So if you're in the market for big box retailers out there, then you're in luck. We've got Home Depot on Tuesday. We've got Target on Wednesday. We got Walmart on Thursday, as well as Uncle Mike's fashion destination, Ross Dress for Less. And if you like a little bit of the wholesale fun, BJ's popping off on Friday as well. So a lot of that big box retail / wholesale stuff going up this week. Interesting how these themes emerge during earnings season, but that is definitely our theme right now. We'll let you know the second we have the updated earnings move results and earnings season reports. Meanwhile, it's time for us to get weird. It is time for us to get wild. And it's time for Uncle Mike to get weird and wild too. That's always fun as we dive on into the Odd Block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
All right, everybody, let's dive on into a little bit of weird paper. And Uncle Mike, we have a theme for you on the Odd Block today. These are all pretty much Viceroy specials in that they're all options on really cheap stocks, sir. You in the mood for, it looks like they're all $2.50 stocks roughly. So you in the mood for some options on cheap stocks, sir?
Let's honor the Viceroy. I will buy none of them.
Yes, yes. He will laugh at us all as we discuss options on these cheap little names, including some newcomers, which is always fun. You know, this is usually a sleepy time in the market, and we've seen a lot of newcomers blasting their way into the top 10 and into a lot of our hearts out there in our portfolios, and certainly onto our hot options report these days as well. So that's been fun. Let's keep the party going with another newcomer. This is Hive Digital Technologies Limited, ticker symbol Hive, Hive. They have subsidiaries in the GPU name, so it looks like they're a graphics card manufacturer or some sort of manufacturer in that area. Maybe they're a Bitcoin miner. Who knows? But it looks like they're based out of Vancouver here. It is a Bitcoin miner. Okay, yeah. Whenever we see GPU stuff these days, it could be code for many things, and one of them is indeed Bitcoin miner, and that is what Hive is up to right now. So the Hive trading 234. Up about 12 cents or 5.4% out there, listeners. Looks like they just had earnings calls, record revenue, but they also say they showed growth amid challenges. So it looks like a decent report for the Hive on the year, listeners. Now you might expect, given the run the Bitcoin's been on, that this stock would kind of track it and be on a banner year, but that's actually not the case. They're off about 73 cents or nearly 25%. They had a nice run towards the end of last year. They were really feeling their oats post-election, like a lot of people were. Optimism for crypto. They got up to 554 intraday. They closed at 5.25 on November 11th, so just a week after the election. Ever since then, listeners, if you were short this thing, you were laughing all the way to the bank. It pretty much sold off immediately from that high, and it never really looked back. It sold off all the way down, bottoming out at 1.25 on April 8th. Since then, it has slowly tried to regain some footing. Got up to about $2.50 about a month ago, July 22nd. Then it drifted back down to about $2 exactly on August 1st. Since then, has been slowly climbing, including today's announcement, giving them another little shot in the arm, trading 2 1/3 right now. That brings us to our paper of the day, Uncle Mike. Somebody coming in this morning after Hive earnings saying, you know what? I like what I heard from the Hive. I want to join the Hive, maybe. And they said, how are these SEP 2.5 calls? They got 20 cents at 25 with the stock exactly here, 233. So the stock hasn't budged since this print. They said, you know what, good sir? First off, thank you for your tight market in this name. And B, I will pay 25 cents, 8,152 times. And then they came back and said, how are they now? And they kept coming back and kept coming back. As of the start of the show, they had put up about 15,000 of these 2.5 calls. So obviously a very hot option out there today. Let's see if any more have gone up since we've been talking. Right around 15,000 still. So it seems like they are spent, at least for now, but 15,000, certainly a large print. Uncle Mike, this gets back to the age-old question we used to debate with the Viceroy as well. Is it worth paying a little over 10% for a call that expires in a little under a month, or is that just too rich for your blood? Or do you like the flip side of that? If it doesn't work out, you can do it again, and you can do it again. You can do it roughly 10 times before you've paid for the stock once.
Yeah, I don't think that would be my cup of tea. If anything, I would want to maybe buy the stock and sell a covered call on it if I really wanted to do that. But 10% is a little bit too rich for my blood, but in reality, I probably wouldn't want to sell a covered call on it either, because that would be too volatile for me to be selling options and too expensive for me to be buying options. So if anything, I would consider doing like a $2.50, $3 spread maybe, but just not my cup of tea in this instance.
All right, Uncle Mike, maybe this next one will be your cup of tea, or perhaps your cup of beer, sir, because it's IPA, aka Immunoprecise Antibodies Limited. Another newcomer. Are you an IPA guy, Uncle Mike?
Yeah, I'll drink an IPA every now and then.
Our chat is full of, as they even put it, useless info. Useless info about Hive. Their chairman is the guy who runs the Jets airline ETF. There we go. That actually isn't very useless. That's kind of interesting out there. So the Hive dipping their tentacles and their tendrils in all sorts of interesting business. As we keep on rolling out to the land of IPAs, this is another newcomer. This is Immunoprecise Antibodies. So a cheapie biotech. Some might argue the type of paper this segment was invented for. Trading 247, up 47 cents. So another banger day for a cheapie name, up about 25% today. On the year, it's been a good year. It's trading about $1 a year ago, so up $1.50 or 152%, including a nice run from June where they were 27 cents at one point. So they've had quite the run from 27 cents to where they are right now, about $2.50. This is bioplatform-based antibody discovery. There you go. They don't say what type of diseases they're working to cure, but or ailments, but that's conversation for another day. Let's get out to IPA. What do we see? Surprise, surprise. It's some call action, Uncle Mike, with the stock at a 52-week high of $2.54 this morning. Somebody came in and said, SEP 2.5, same month, same strike. How are they? This time, Uncle Mike, they got a much worse market. The other guy got 20 at 25. This one is 20 cents at 55. So again, just shows you, listeners, what we're working with. Two very similar situations, exact same month, exact same strike, very similar stock price, and just wildly different markets here. 20 cents at 55. And you know what, Uncle Mike? That didn't dissuade them. They said, you know what, good sir, I will pay 55 cents, 3,769 times. So they are rolling them bones. Mr. Uncle Mike, now we're talking paying over 2x for the same duration, the same strike, similar stock price. I'm guessing if you didn't love the Hive, you're not going to love the tasty, delicious IPA, sir. Or maybe you will. Maybe you surprise me.
You know what? That one kind of makes me cringe. The one before, it's like, not for me. This one, it's like, oh boy. I hope for his benefit that he has some really good information that'll benefit from the call price increasing with a 35-cent spread on the bid ask. And hopefully he can use limit orders effectively.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Again, if you want to go the Uncle Mike covered call route, you're getting some juice, 55 cents. So maybe you want to take advantage of that. Maybe sell a little juice, sell a little bit of the foam on top of this very foamy IPA. Let's get out of here on another cheapie name. We're 3 for 3 on roughly $2.50 names today. That's our theme for the odd block. This is the name we have talked about before. It's been a little while. This is IQIYI Inc. In case you couldn't guess, this is an ADR out of, actually, looks like this is out of China or Korea. This is out of China, yeah. They stream a lot of Chinese and Korean dramas. We all know Korean dramas taking over the world. K-pop, everything Korean, hot out there these days. Wild. IQIY, it's just ticker symbol IQ, trading 232 up. Stop me if you've heard this, 34 cents or about 17% today. So a good day for cheapie stocks around $2 to pop around $0.50 or $0.33 out there. So that's our theme today. On the year, IQIY has been all over the place. They're off $1 right now from where they were a year ago, or 30%. But they've sold off to about $2 and rallied to about a little over $3 multiple times. They did sell off to their nadir of about $1.50 on April 8th. So since then, they have rallied obviously about 80 cents. Let's see what we got on here. This time, we're not going out to September, Uncle Mike. We're just going out to August 29th. So we're playing in the weeklies. They asked that same question. They said, 2.5 calls expiring on August 29th. How are they? They got a dime at 13 cents. So tighter market, cheaper market. But then again, not quite as long on the duration front as well. And they said, good sir, I will pay 13 cents 3,000 times. But then they kept coming back and kept coming back again, like our other friend there in Hive, a total of 17,000 times. So someone's a little hot to trot on the 2.5 calls in IQ, sir. What say you?
Well, I mean, the brokers probably really love this because it's a lot of option action on a very low priced stock. So these people might be paying the same for a 13-cent option than they would for a $13 option, which from the brokerage standpoint, that probably makes them pretty excited. Um, Not quite the impact in terms of a lot of juice as the other one, but like you said, you only have what is that? 11 days until expiration. So a little bit different scenario, but the same thing is that it's a FOMO trade, a have a hunch, bet a bunch trade, whatever you want to call it. But hopefully for their benefit, they get some movement quickly.
I guess that's our theme today. You're rolling the bones on some cheapie stocks out there, listeners. You like any of these? Any of these float your boat? Stocks all roughly the same level. We got paper paying 13, 25, and 55 cents for a little bit of near dated at the money action to slightly out of the money action. Let us know as we keep on rolling. It's Monday. It's time for the strategy block.
It's time to dispense options, wit, wisdom, and education. It's time for the Strategy Block.
All right, Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, what you got for us on this fine Monday besides your tasting notes for various IPAs?
Right. So I want to go through the importance of the order types. We haven't talked about this in a while on the strategy block, but just have an understanding of how they work. You have market orders, you have limit orders, you have stop orders, you have stop limit orders, you have all sorts of stuff. So let's go through some of the basics. What is a market order? That's when you're buying or selling a stock or an option, and you're saying, I want to get filled. I don't care what the price is, I want to get filled. So what's going to happen is if you think you're going to get filled at a certain price, the market can move for better or for worse. Well, in the time you hit the send button to the time it gets to the market, which can be, of course, in milliseconds. But with that being said, you might not get the price that you're looking for. Now, in the stock world, if you're trading like Apple or Amazon or something like that, it's probably not going to be a big deal. But if you're trading some of those options, like what we just talked about, that are 20 cents by 55 cents wide, you probably want to be careful with that. In fact, I would never do a market order on any option like that, or I couldn't even tell you the last time I did a market order on any option, to tell you the truth. So make sure you have an understanding of what a market order is. Now, another order style is called a stop order. And a stop order is a stop market order, meaning, let's say XYZ stock is at $70 a share. You want to get stopped out at 67, meaning if the stock goes to 67 or less, you want out. Well, what that means is that as soon as the stock prints $67, a market order is then executed. So if the stock goes to 67 and then a millisecond later gaps down to 62, you're going to get filled at 62 most likely because of the fact that it's a stop market order. All the stop is it's a signal of when to put in a market order. Now, there's also a stop limit order, to where, let's say you put the stop limit order at 67 and you had both the stop and the limit at 67. Well, then if the stock goes to 67, a limit order is put in place to where you're going to get out at 67. But if the stock gaps below it to 66, 65, 62, or whatever, yeah, you still have your limit order hanging out there at 67, but you're not getting filled and you have exposure. I typically don't do stop limit orders. Now, limit order in general, that works a little bit different. Let's say that I want to get into a stock at a certain price. Let's say XYZ stock is at 70 again, but I want to buy the stock at 68. I can put out an order saying buy X amount of shares at $68. And if the stock never goes down to 68, I'll never own the stock. But the second it does go down to 68, I will get filled at 68 or better. So in this case, if a stock gaps below 68, then I might get filled even better than that. Now, for options, getting into an option, I personally always use limit order. I shouldn't say always. 99% of the time, I always use limit orders. Because let's say an option is 20 cents by 55 cents, I would put out a limit order to buy that option if I wanted to buy it at, say, 30 or 35 cents, somewhere in the middle. And if I get filled, great. If not, then I don't do it. That way it protects me from the wider bid-ask spreads. So make sure that you have an understanding of market orders and limit orders, how they work, when they work, why they work, before you do any trading. I know this is a review for most of our listeners, but it's important to have an understanding of that.
All right. It's also important for us to go around the block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to Around the Block, the portion of the show where we tell you what we're watching for the rest of the week until our next show with the Flow Master on Thursday. As we're wrapping up the show here, markets are pretty close to unchanged from where they were at the start of the show. Pretty much every major indice off about 0.1%, maybe slightly more, but not much more than that. And VIX Cash still hanging out right around 15.25. With that said, Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, what are you keeping an eye on until our next show on Thursday?
Well, I mean, the big thing is the Trump meeting today. That's what I think is going to be the big market mover. There's that. And then I can't see anything that's going to have near as much of an impact on the market, at least in the upcoming days, as what that's going to have, in my opinion. So I will be watching the results of that with bated breath.
Yeah, not much emerging from the big Putin sit down, at least from a market perspective. So we'll see if maybe we can get a little bit more on that. But that is going to do it for us on the old OB today. If you need more in your lives, don't worry. We'll be back in a little bit with the crypto run. I'll be joined by the folks from Coinbase. Should be kind of fascinating to talk all things crypto over there at Coinbase. Obviously, Coinbase, the big dogs in the crypto space out there. So it'll be interesting to see what their thoughts on. I'll be joined by Scott Shapiro. He is the Senior Director of Product Management for Trading over there at Coinbase. So if you folks hanging out in the pro, if you have any questions for the folks at Coinbase, maybe start getting them in. I will be back in a little bit for the Coinbase chat on the crypto rundown. And then, of course, I will be back to wrap things up on the closing bell later on today with a little bit of the old hot options report. Then back tomorrow with one of the newest additions to the network, aka our old pal, the European Market Brief, to talk all things Europe and derivatives. And then if that's not enough chatting with some of the hot players on the mega brokerage side, we'll be joined by the folks from Robinhood tomorrow to talk all things options. So it's going to be a hot one again. If you folks in the pro have some questions for the folks at Robinhood, get them in. Maybe we'll see if we could work them to the right people over there. So a lot of fun stuff popping off. And then Wednesday, of course, our usual doubleheader, perhaps even a triple header of OBC and the futures rundown. Then we're back again on Thursday with the old option block. And Uncle Mike, in the meantime, if folks want to hit you up with questions about why 95% of the strategic night is in IBIT, where should they go? What should they do?
Go to stcharleswealth.com, book an appointment to have a phone call with me. We will talk strategic night, triple income, and IBIT all you want.
There you go. stcharleswealth.com is the place to go. We got to get on out of here. Back again at 2 p.m. Central to talk all things crypto. Should be a fun one with the folks from Coinbase. And then back again with our usual array of content till we're back again on Thursday. Flow Master in hand. Another episode of the Option Block. Stay safe out there, everybody.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.